Yes people, what is good? Welcome back to the channel. So this is going to be like the introduction episode here towards the prep series. Not sure on a name if there's going to be one, just a prep series, because I think all of the names typically just kind of get reused and recycled anyway. There's not much to distinguish them. I'm not going to come up with some random flashy dramatic title. This is just prep. This is what we do. This is what we enjoy doing. So in the last episode I gave you a rundown of updates for myself, the apartment tour, full day of eating in the last few episodes, and now I don't think I really gave much context as to like what we were doing, what the plan was, etc. So that is what we're going to do here. I'm going to give you a basic rundown of what the plan is over the next few months, what shows we're competing for, what the current and previous or recent weight, visuals, drugs, food, etc. has been. I'm not going to go into too much detail with the drugs. I just think it would be somewhat irresponsible, because it'd be very easy for someone to kind of take what I'm doing and apply it to themselves, thinking it does carry over. Again, what I do is specific to me based off the period of time that I have been doing this, the slower escalations that we've taken during that time, and also the personal trade-off that I'm willing to take with health, but also relative to the habits that I'm implementing to make sure like I stay on top of that with like regards supplementation, cardio, etc. So yeah, basically just don't take what I'm doing as gospel and something that you need to replicate. It has to be specific to you based off your recent, previous and future timelines ahead of you. But yeah, since the last video, not all that much has changed. I'm going to give you visual updates. I'll put these on here or maybe overlap them on the screen. We have pulled down from our peak blast of little over 2 grams total androgens per week down to our cruise at 550 milligram total. We have made a slight pull in calories. You'd seen in the last one, in the full day of eating, that I was like really struggling with that. I think 3 or 4 days after that I switched to having my first meal as a shake like I said I would, and that's really helped me kind of maintain the food intake that I need to. But we have made a slight pull since then. So we've pulled from 740 carb on training day just down to 680, and then non-training day we've pulled off another 60 gram of carb, going from 550 down to 490. So calories are still over, I think 4.8 on training day, and then 4.6-ish non-training day. I just replicate the meal plan and I just go off macros. Also with this, I've started adding in 15 minutes cardio fasted in the morning, not for any like significant expenditure purposes or to like initiate fat loss per se, but more so just structurally making sure I kind of get back into the habits that are necessary leading into prep, which is something I really stress and emphasize with a lot of people in that pre-prep phase. The main goal in that pre-prep phase is making sure that you have the logistical capabilities, that you can manage your time well, that you can have a better work threshold, because your workload will increase as food goes down and you're going to have to do more time allocated to steps, more time allocated to cardio. You're going to have less and less time for yourself. It's really important to make sure that you have the capacity to do so and you can maintain that structure and discipline within your weekly schedule. Another thing that we've done during this phase was switch up my training. Nothing significant. It's not that we've pulled down to like just baselines and just kind of going through the motions. Training is still very fucking good and intense, but what we've done is we've switched from a 10-day rotation, which cycles every 10 days. We don't really know, obviously you can put it into like your Google Calendar like I've done and you kind of get a rough idea, but you kind of have to check what your training sessions are, what your rest days are, like as needed. Whereas what we've done is switch back to just a weekly schedule, so I know what my rest days are ahead of time. I now rest on Mondays and Thursdays, which means I can allocate more workload to that time. Mondays are usually busiest with check-ins, and then Thursdays when we'll usually do like the podcast or something else along those lines. But just to make sure that I'm not waffling for too long, what I'll do is I will take you along with my next session. We'll get a few clips in there. Might have a little bit of a chat on some other topic if something comes to mind, and then we'll kind of finish the discussion on the whole prep, what shows are, where body weight etc is, and where we're expecting it to be in the next part after this. Stay tuned. Right, excuse the kitchen looking a little bit untidy in the background. Is that focusing? Yes. So yeah, plan of action with prep itself. So for the last 4 weeks and probably the next like 3 or 4 anyway in that pre-prep phase, we haven't really been pushing anything up or down significantly. As I said, we made a slight kind of calorie adjustment, but that was more kind of like appetite regulation and making sure I didn't feel like too lethargic. But the goal here has really just been kind of holding body weight around that like 119-ish mark. We did hit 120, 121, but that was like peak blast, and then as soon as the drugs come after, it's that fullness that you lose. A little bit of fluid, but yeah, the goal has pretty much just been like holding here, and we've done so with relative ease on the lower drugs, and then we'll see where that takes us, and we can then move them back up moving into the prep. So prep start dates. Start date will be on 17th of April, which is my birthday. Might sound a little bit weird starting then, but it's on a Monday, so there's no point pushing it back an extra week. Birthday itself, I don't really care too much about. I might do something on the weekend beforehand, but most of the other lads here are going to be on prep at that point anyway, so it's not as if we're going to be going out or getting a load of food. Might just kind of go somewhere for the weekend and chill out, just mentally reset before starting prep itself. But yeah, 17th of April start date. That is going to give me 19 weeks until the first show, which is going to be the MK Classic in Wigan 2 Bro show. That's going to be on Saturday 2nd of September, and then the following day we will have the PCA Manchester here just out the road in Middleton. The MK Classic show out in Wigan isn't far from here either, so it might sound a little bit weird doing 2 shows back to back, but I done it last year, and that was going from Maidenhead down in London up towards Manchester. And even then, like, it was a little bit stressful, but now that it's just like half an hour at the road, come back, wash off top coat, get a little bit more food in, and then put on a new top coat for the following day. The look won't change too drastically between those shows, and 2 Bros will usually run rather early anyway, so we should get back in plenty of time to chill out. So they'll be the first 2 shows. After that we'll have the PCA Ireland 2 weeks afterwards, which is 17th of September. I'm not sure if I think that's in Galway again. I know they have the one in Derry in a couple months time. I have a few clients doing that, which is going to be good. I'll be there for that as well. And then after that, I'm not really sure what the plan of action is with shows itself. We might do another 1 or 2. I'd love to do one abroad and just kind of cap it off there. Maybe one of the Alicante shows and just finish the prep in Alicante and enjoy that downtime. But I know for myself, and I've discussed this a few times on the podcast and with the lads, for me prep this year isn't really as much about like leaving a mark and being like very competitive, and I know pro card isn't on the horizon. That's not even like in my plans. I just want to do it as well as I can. But the main thing for me this year is like being as present as possible, not putting excessive amounts of pressure on myself, not getting lost in it, which is very easily done. I think leading into the last prep, because I took so much time off and obviously moved over here to Manchester, I seen this as like the big stepping stone within like my coaching career, and it did have that impact. It did really accelerate things, but I don't think it did as much as I had anticipated. Maybe that's my own fault for having too high expectations, but then that kind of left a little bit of a void, and it was nearly like you're going to get that post-show kind of depression anyway, and I think that was just exacerbated by how much I'd kind of hyped it up in my head as well. So the main thing this year is just kind of staying as present as possible. I wasn't even planning on doing this show. There's Jim. Come on in. First trim, boy. But yeah, initially the plan wasn't even to compete this year. I was going to take another year off, my off season, but the last year has been like ridiculously progressive within my physique, so I was really happy with that. Still in 2 minds about doing the prep, but then considering the fact we're going to have all the other lads here living under the same roof, prepping for the same shows, between myself, Ryan, Cian, Dara, Joe, it's going to be too good of an opportunity to miss out on. I know for a fact if I didn't do it, I'd look back and say, you know what, that would have been like really good and really enjoyable. And it's a weird one, because as a coach, you don't want to say to someone, oh, just prep like for the sake of it or for enjoyment purposes, because it is a very like significant time frame where you make a lot of sacrifices, and to do so just like for enjoyment might be somewhat questionable. You want to make sure that like you're really bought into it and okay with making those sacrifices. But like, this is my 4th prep already, so I know what those sacrifices entail. I'm just going to kind of prove to myself that I'm able to do so without making too much like emotional sacrifices. I'm not sure if that sounds a little bit wishy-washy, but that's kind of where I'm at in my headspace. That doesn't denote any kind of complacency within the prep. I'm still going to treat it as intense as I have any other prep, and as intense as I have done during this off season as well, which is why I'm in a position that I can prep again. But yeah, that's just kind of where my head's at with this, and I think it's good to kind of paint that picture contextually of like the background, the thought process leading into this prep, yeah, and then just seeing where it goes. But that is pretty much that.